If you're planning on going away this year or next year, this is really important for you. Because the last time I went away, a good mate of mine got stung with a massive phone bill, and I don't want that to happen to any of you. And with Saley, it never will. All you've got to do is click the link in the description below, choose the amount of data and time frame that suits your trip, and then you just install the eSIM on your phone, and when you land at your destination, you will activate your plan instantly. And with Saley, you won't get those massive phone bills when you're away. You won't have to log into the hotel Wi-Fi, and then you get no connection until you get your next destination. You will be well connected wherever you are. So even if you're not going away for a few months, download it now so it's ready there. You will thank me later. And with my code, you're going to get a really cheap deal. Go to saley.com/paingame and you'll get 15% off your first purchase, which is going to make this super cheap. So enjoy Saley, enjoy the great connectivity, enjoy the good price, and enjoy your holiday. And even if you're not going to wait till next summer, do it now because you're supporting the channel. Cheers. Before I get into Eubank Ben, the rematch, I've got to tell you, this Saturday coming, the 22nd of November, 4 world titles are on the line in possibly the best pound-for-pound card of the year. David Benavidez versus Anthony Yarde. What a war that will be. We didn't get a war in Eubank Ben's rematch. This could be the war of wars this year. Not to mention Devin the Dream Haney versus Brian Norman Jr. Norman Jr. has been on a tear lately, and he might just be the next big star in boxing. He's got it all, the power, the charisma, but in order to be that guy, he has to smash Devin Haney, and there's nothing I'd like to see more. Not to mention other great talents throughout the card. Abdullah Mason, who looks like the future of boxing, Jesse Bam Rodriguez, one of the pound-for-pound top 10. Do not miss the Pain Game live from Saudi Arabia, the 22nd of November. It's going to be one of the best cards of the year. Right, Eubank versus Ben. I mean, did Eubank even win a round? I think there were a couple of rounds that were like a little close. Like maybe you could give to Eubank, but like minimum, I gave Ben 10 rounds. Minimum. Last time it was competitive. This was utter dominance. And my favorite thing about tonight, and it kind of reminds me of the Ryan Garcia Devin Haney fight, is in all the pre-fight build-up, everyone's like, Conor Benn just can't keep it together. Eubank's in his head. He's in his head. And like, to be fair, last time he was in his head a bit, but I think there was a noticeable change this time. And I just love it when a fighter comes out and shows something that no one expects. People only thought Conor Benn could fight like a Tasmanian devil. No one thought he could show precision, calmness, and execute a game plan. And that is exactly what he did. He proved so many people wrong. And credit to him for that. And he's not going to get a lot of credit, and we'll get into why, but he does deserve credit from this fight big time. Because the issue is, everyone's going to bring out every single excuse in the book for Chris Eubank Jr. because they've all been doing it for time. Even when he won the last fight, it was non-stop excuses because of, oh, it was only close because of this, that, and the other. I've never known someone win a fight and still have so many excuses, man. And it's funny because obviously Eubank won that last fight, and it was all about the weight. No one ever heard a single excuse come out of Conor Benn's mouth for losing. Not one. Never heard him say, oh, I was the smaller, the shorter reach, the lighter guy, didn't have the experience in there, hadn't fought in a stadium event. He never mentioned anything. It was all about Eubank's weight. The same weight that Eubank has been making for years, by the way. Oh, it's so unfair he's got to make that weight, isn't it? Is it unfair? Is it unfair that when he fought at 168, he got smashed and thought, I can't compete at this level in my own weight class, so I'm going to deliberately weight drain myself of my own decision, my own choosing, to fight easier fighters. And even when they do offer me high-level fighters like Hamza Shiraz, like Canelo Alvarez, I'm going to reject those fights so that I don't have to fight the top competition. And I'm going to pick a fight with a 147-pound fighter who, because he's so much smaller than me, should be a much easier touch. In any walk of fighting, I've covering MMA, boxing for so many years, I've never seen a fighter be that opportunistic and people still feel sorry for him. As if he's got a gun to his head and people are saying, I can't believe he's got to make that weight. It's his fucking decision, man. Why are we feeling sorry for him for avoiding fighters in his own actual weight class who would beat him up and trying to find the easiest fights possible? That's not something to feel sorry for. And he's getting paid bloody well for a fight that shouldn't even be competitive because of those high reach weight advantages he's coming into it with. But I think Eubank is loved, and I think the way he's very clever with his words, he really manipulates a lot of people into feeling sorry for him for something that nobody should. If it's that hard, go and fight at 168. No one's making him do this. Oh, is Conor supposed to come up 3 weight classes now to make it all good for Eubank, is he? Fuck off, man. Yeah, I don't agree with, rehydration clauses personally, but like, I don't really give a fuck when you're going to do this, when you're going to come down in this much in weight to try and fight such a smaller guy. You get what you're fucking giving me, and you're certainly not getting sympathy from me. Did Eubank look bad in the fight? Yeah, he didn't look great. Did he look shit against Sharameta? Yeah. He looked shit in that fight as well. He doesn't look good at 160 generally, except against Sharameta, he didn't have a live dog in front of him to expose the fact that he didn't look great in that fight. Against Liam Smith in their rematch, Liam Smith was shot to bits. He was injured as fuck. He couldn't expose the weaknesses in Eubank. It's not like Eubank has just gone from performing great, and then all of a sudden looks terrible in this fight. He's been not looking good. It's just Conor Benn had a lot of extenuating circumstances in that first fight that did not allow him to expose the weaknesses in the way he did in this fight. And people are going to completely overlook everything and all the finer details and go, it's just a weight in it. It's just a weight in it. Well, actually, it's a lot more than that. Conor Benn in that first fight hadn't fought in 18 months. Do you think that made for the best version of Conor Benn? Do you think that might have played into the fact of why his punching accuracy was terrible, why his judgment at distance was so terrible, why he was swinging from a mile away? And that obviously wasn't helped by the mind games of Eubank, which he'd never dealt with before. This is the first time he's ever had to put up with that sort of stuff. He was in a negative state of mind from all of the shit he'd been going through legally. He'd never been on a stadium main event stage in his life. That was all new to him. He'd never fought at 160 before. He didn't know if he could hang with Eubank, let alone hurt him. There were so many things that I called out in the prediction as to why there was no way Conor Benn wasn't going to perform better in this fight. I knew it for a fact. But because Benn doesn't try and make himself the victim every day of his fucking life like Eubank does, no one really considered a lot of that coming into the rematch. Everyone overlooked it because Benn didn't sing about it. He just got on with it like a grown-ass man. And I think another main reason for people overlooking what could happen in the rematch was Eubank's charisma. Like, he is such a charismatic guy. He is fantastic on the mic. He's one of the best in boxing ever. He's got superstar personality. But what people forget is he doesn't have superstar skills. And people were talking about Eubank coming into this fight in a way I'm like, have you forgotten his entire career? Like, do you not remember Prince Nassim, the great man himself, saying Eubank should quit because he isn't a world-class fighter after he got smashed at 168? He's not at the level he acts like he is, and he never ever has been. And that's not me trying to shit on his career. It's just the truth of the matter. Every real boxing fan knows what I'm fucking saying is true. And people looked at that first fight against a really rusty, lacking in experience Conor Benn and totally misjudged the whole situation, in my opinion. If Conor Benn had fought in the first fight like he fought in the rematch, he would have won that one easily as well. It's not like the weight loss changed. The weight was the fucking same in both fights, man. It was what was in front of him completely changed. In fact, Eubank actually had a harder time making the weight the first time because he missed weight and he was struggling like fuck. That was very obvious. He made the weight better this time. And if it's all about weight, and that's the only factor that anyone wants to mention here, then Eubank wouldn't have beaten him the first time when he had to make 160, but he did, which completely disproves that is the only mitigating factor here. And I get a lot of people will have got this fight completely wrong and they'll want to take away from Conor Benn and they'll be frustrated. The facts are the facts, though. It's fucking blatantly obvious. And I'm not saying that weight training doesn't have an impact on Eubank, because it clearly does to some degree, but it's his own decision. And it is a decision he's been making for years. And we've seen these kind of performances against Sharameta, against Liam Smith. This is not, oh my God, Eubank just died overnight and now he's terrible. No, this has been him. It's just what was in front of him this time was measured, precise, and a fucking pit bull ready to strike. And Conor Benn deserves credit for that. And it's not Conor Benn's fault, as much as people are going to blame him for this, because of the narrative and the brainwashing that Eubank's been doing, that Eubank Jr. chooses to not fight a 168 because he couldn't fuck with the fighters at that level. And honestly, I think a major thing that was massively overlooked in this fight, and I called that out in the prediction as well, was recovery. Eubank had made this weight time and time again. But what he hadn't done is make this weight after having the shit beaten out of him of Conor Benn in that first fight and put in hospital for days on end. When it came to remaking this fight in September, Eubank pushed it back by a couple of months. That was the clue. He wasn't ready. He wasn't fully recovered. Conor Benn hopped out of bed like nothing even happened the next day because he's younger. And that is an advantage he's got, and I'm more than happy to call that out because there's nothing Benn or Eubank can do about that. And it was pretty much the only advantage fucking Conor Benn had in there. Didn't have the height, didn't have the reach, didn't have the size, didn't have the experience, but he had youth. And Eubank's had a lot of wars in his career, and there's just only so many of them you can have and keep going back to the well and digging deep. And he dug so fucking deep to pull that win off against the worst possible version of Conor Benn. And that is the actual truth here. Conor Benn fought terribly in that first fight, and yet he still had Eubank going life and death with him. That proved that the changes Conor Benn had to make were minimal in order to get the win. Don't fight like a madman. This is pretty much the only thing he had to do. Again, something that was massively overlooked because of the charisma, in my opinion, of Eubank Jr. Jr. And you think about it, those 18 months that he didn't fight, the way he came in, just swinging off balance, falling over his front foot, so rusty and so wound up by Eubank. To be fair to Eubank, great mind games. He wanted to take his head off. He wasn't thinking in any way strategically in there. Never fought on this big stadium stage before. The whole thing got to him. Never fought at 160. Can I even hurt Eubank? How do I judge the range here? I've never fought men this size before. All of that just made him 10 times better in getting that experience in the rematch and enabled him to think as he was fighting this time and hold himself together. And I remember seeing him backstage before he came out, and I'm on the phone to me mate, and he just looked so happy. And a happy fighter is a dangerous fighter. And he looked great. And I thought, if you lose tonight, it's not because you're not fucking 100%, because you absolutely are. And Conor Benn came out there and did exactly what he said he was going to do in the face-off. He systematically beat Eubank. And I mentioned that as a clue of the strategy behind what he's going to do. Break him down to the body. He's not just going to headhunt like he did last time. I even called that, and that's exactly what he did. He was like an assassin in there. He was ice cool, and he did things that people said he couldn't, right? He showed his boxing skill. He showed his ability to remain calm in the heat of the moment. Immediately, when they started, you noticed the footwork of Conor Benn was completely different this time. He was edging closer. He was judging the distance perfectly, so that when he would throw shots, he wasn't throwing them from a mile away where Chris Eubank can just be like, yeah, fucking me grandma could see that coming, mate. He was so close to Chris this time, but within safe distance so that he could avoid the shots, and he could hop in and out beautifully, just springing, using that footwork. But when he'd throw, it was a lot harder for Chris to get out the way because the distance was nowhere near as great. There was no telegraphing this time. And I think one of the main problems he had last time was he was so predictable. Like, he was headhunting a lot. This time he starts off early. He works the body immediately. And then that gets Chris not knowing, or where the fuck are you going to go? And the feints. And the feints was so much more believable. Last time he was repeating the same thing over and over and over again. He had Eubank biting on everything. And that drains the fucking battery, along with going down to the body over and over and over again. The whole thing was systematic. And another thing that I think a lot of people overlook coming into this fight was the mental scars that the level of punishment Conor Benn gave him that first fight, it left. You could see he was wary as fuck of getting hurt. You know, it's one thing to be in the heat of the moment and you're in the ring in that first fight taking punches and you're just trying to win and you get the win. But those days in hospital afterwards, they leave a mark, surely. That man did that to you. And a lot of people just went, it's just the weight, and it's just the weight. He got hit loads, really hard. That hurts. I've never known a fighter be able to brainwash people as much as this guy had. And we've never seen Chris Eubank miss a fighter as much as he did this time. Because of that speed of foot, he was missing loads. And again, draining the energy, along with reacting on the feints, along with the body shots. And while Eubank's energy was being drained, Conor Benn's energy was being managed to perfection. He wasn't coming out and just trying to get him out of there in the first round. He was planning this fight the way he didn't plan the first fight. And I said he was going to have to do this. He was planning for a 12-round war because he now knew Eubank has a fucking chin on him and he can take a lot of shots. I can't just blow my load early and leave myself gassed out, because that's how Eubank managed to take over the fight, remember. Benn was looking very effective in the early rounds, even if it was crazy strategy. But when he calmed down and when he tired and his speed was no longer what it was, that was what enabled Eubank to take over. That never became an option this time. And the tactics really mattered. It wasn't all about the fucking weight. If Conor Benn had came out and fought like an idiot again, maybe he would have gotten the win, Eubank. But Conor Benn never gave him a fucking prayer. And another thing that he abandoned last time, the minute he hurt Chris Eubank Jr., was the jab. And the jab was very good last time early on. It was lightning quick. And this time it stayed lightning quick because he managed that energy. There was a jab he threw in round 10. You looked at it and you thought, that looks like you're in round 1, that. It was lightning. And I just think he had Eubank completely reactive in there because the shot variation, just the complete complexity of everything he was bringing to the table, keeping him guessing. Eubank never got going. He was not allowed to get going. And that's why people are going to look like, he wasn't the same fighter. He was weight trained. Well, yeah, he's weight trained in every fight. But the tactics from Benn had a massive impact on him. Give him his credit, man. There was a look in Eubank's face in round 5, and I'm not having anyone tell me that in round 5, Eubank's completely got no energy and he's not fit enough to do 5 rounds. Eubank is a really fit fighter. In round 5, Eubank had a look on his face, and when you've watched fighting enough, you know when a fighter has that look like, I can't fuck with you here, like, I'm not even in your league. And he knew it. And to be fair to Chris, I'm going to give him some credit because I'm sick of the whole narrative control that he's done. But one thing I can never take away from him is he's a fucking fighter, because there's a prideful thing that comes over some fighters in that moment where you know you're going to lose. He knew he was going to lose. You either Find a way to get out of there and quit, or you take your beating like a man. He took his beating like a man, and I really respect that a lot. I just wish he would do it with his mouth as well, because all of the excuses coming into the fight, before the first fight, after the it's like, you're fighting a smaller guy. Just shut the fuck up and get on with it, and stop making excuses so that if you do lose, everyone's going to come to your defense, which is exactly what's happening. Taking the credit away from Conor Benn, and I just find it distasteful. Conor Benn was fucking pretty perfect in this fight. He didn't give him a chance. Well done, Conor Benn. Decades of your father losing to his father, you know, years of having to deal with the mind games from Eubank Jr. and all the things people have said about Conor Benn. He stood up and proved how good he was in this fight. Does that mean he's going to be the greatest ever? No, it doesn't. But it's a hell of a fucking achievement for a 147 fighter to beat a fighter who's got those advantages on him and has got that level of experience. Yes, it wasn't the best Chris Eubank I've ever seen. No, it wasn't. But it was the same Chris Eubank I've been seeing for many years. And Conor Benn's put himself in line for a world title fight now. But not just that. Even Chris and Conor, they became superstars through this fight. Chris Eubank Jr., before this whole thing, he was essentially a fighter who didn't make the grade at 168, was seen as a bit done in some respects. Conor Benn, you know, will he ever live up to his dad's name? Some people didn't even really know Conor Benn like that, and, you know, not like a household name, not like now. And I've got to give credit to Turki Al-Sheikh for this, because the stage that he has provided, not just these fighters, but many fighters now. Eubank Jr. was not a stadium fighter. He wasn't coming out with 50 Cent before Turki Al-Sheikh pushed him to the moon. Conor Benn now has got a platform where he can earn so much money and fight for world titles, and he is a money fight now. He's a star now. None of that would be possible without Turki Al-Sheikh. And obviously he's done it for lots of fighters. Usyk's now a household name. Daniel Dubois had amazing success through Turkey. We got to give credit, man, because these two fights, for all, you know, you might disagree with the weight and whatever, that's fine. But the moments we've been given as boxing fans after, you know, growing up in the legend of Eubank versus Benn rivalry, to see that first fight, Eubank coming out with his dad, surprising us all, simply the best playing. The goosebumps were standing on the back of my neck. Beautiful moments in British boxing history that I'll never forget. And I wish I could be a bit more like, you know, credit to both men and all that, but just the way Eubank's conducted himself, it's just left a bad taste in my mouth. And even after the fight, immediately I've been to hell and back, you know, and it's like, just by even mentioning and alluding to the difficulties that you've had, you're immediately taken away from the win from Conor Benn. And I would expect nothing less, because he's tried to do that from the very start. This whole Eddie Hearn tried to sabotage my weight cut and try to sabotage my ambulance leaving the arena. It's just such bullshit. And the guy is a bullshitter. And I admire him for a lot of things. Like, I think the way he's conducted himself as a family man in the last few years has been admirable, been lovely to watch. But I just wish he wouldn't try and control the narrative to such a degree where when your opponent does win, everyone takes everything away from him. It's just not on. And that's kind of what I admire about the Benns, is that they take their losses in the right way. They don't make excuses, and they just fucking get on with it. And now Benn has the opportunity to do something that Eubank never could, and that's go after a real world title, become a world champion, and give us British boxing fans someone to root for. He can have fights against Devin Haney, Ryan Garcia, mega fights that we can have in stadiums in the UK. This is brilliant for British boxing, this. As much as a lot of people love Eubank really, what was he going to do after this? Maybe have a fight with a top fighter who would have wiped the floor with him convincingly anyway. This is actually way better for us moving forward. And when a much smaller man kicks your ass, you just take it and just stop with the excuses. Do you know what I mean? You chose to go to that way, and I've had enough. So look, I know this is going to piss people off, because I know the level of love Eubank has and the charisma and the way he's controlled the narrative. But the truth is the truth, no matter who believes it, who doesn't believe it. And I believe what I'm saying is fair. He fought a much smaller man. He deliberately weight trained himself to do so, and he made his own decisions, and this is on him. And he got outboxed thoroughly. So yeah, well done to Conor Benn. I'm not sure how many people will give him his credit, but I'm more than happy to, because I thought he fought a brilliant fight, thoroughly deserved the win, and I'm excited to see what's next. Let me know what you thought of the fight in the comments below. Hit that like button, subscribe to The Pain Game. I will see you all Saturday the 22nd of November, live from Saudi Arabia for Benavidez versus Yard, Haney versus Norman Jr. It is going to be an unbelievable night of fights. I'll catch you there.